Oh, can you turn on the radio?
Baby, it's cold outside.
Really? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to JBuck Studios, your home for reviews, reactions, and ridiculousness. Anyways, though, we're back with another upcoming early screening. This movie is actually coming out this Friday. Big thank you to IFC Films and IFC Midnight for hooking me up with a screener, but it's this new kind of horror survival stuck in the tundra type movie called Centigrade. After a storm buries their vehicle, a man and his pregnant wife are set inside their vehicle fighting the elements, hypothermia, starvation in a fight for survival. So is this new horror survival movie pack all of the survival horror elements that you're looking for in a film? Let's find out. But before I get my thoughts, let me know if you guys have seen this trailer of Centigrade and if you're looking forward to this kind of new horror survival battling the elements type movie. Now let's get into some of the good. So right off the get-go, Centigrade, I think that the story is the most interesting part. Sure, it starts off the movie by saying it's a 2002 based on true event story, and after doing a little bit more digging, it's based on a handful of different events and how all of these people kind of battled the elements. But I mean, aside from that, reeling it back in, I think that what they did with, you know, kind of the survival elements taken from these true events worked fairly well, because this was in an intriguing 90-ish minutes of them making these decisions, rolling the dice, determining whether to risk it or play it safe, hoping for someone to survive, hoping for someone to show up and potentially save them, or somehow lasting this, you know, awful situation out, you know, battling the elements and surviving through this. So I think that the moral conundrum and the story that the characters were put into was one of the most interesting, honestly, horrifying elements of this movie, because again, a survival horror, but there's a hope that you can see. You're reaching out for that hope, and who knows, maybe they get to it, maybe they don't. So I think that the story elements in this worked the best, but then the interesting little pieces that ramp up the tension, ramp up the kind of almost horror survival elements of someone spilling the water because, you know, obviously water is very scarce, or someone breaking the window, the woman having a baby in the middle of everything, and seeing how many days you can theoretically last in this situation. So every single little bit of this film, of spilling just a simple thing as the water, I thought was tension filled and intense, and honestly, like I said, ramped up the tension or horror elements between this couple in this car. And that is what made this film so special, is that it's strictly based in a car. You know, there's other films that are kind of stuck in confined situations. The Ryan Reynolds Alive or Buried movie, there it is, Buried. And then also I think Locke, the one with Tom Hardy in the car. So this Centigrade movie is a couple stuck in a car for the whole amount of the movie. And some people might think that that's boring and whatnot. Like I said, there's a lot of tension, a lot of conflict built into this story. You don't have to worry about that at all. But the one thing that really stuck out at me is the way that they filmed this movie. Again, they are stuck in this vehicle, but I think that they filmed it in such a way that it didn't feel, it felt confined. And it felt like very claustrophobic, and they were stuck in this, you know, car, a very small portion of space. But it didn't feel like it was shot well. I just thought that it was shot to make it interesting, to make it feel like the space was a little bit more homely, while also making it feel contained. And it didn't feel like the camera was panning out so it looked like they weren't stuck in a car. Like this whole time, it did feel like they were stuck in a car. And one thing I did think about is, you know, if a couple stayed that long in a vehicle, my God, I can only imagine what the smell of that vehicle would be like. However, Centigrade did not raise the temperature up for me, you know, entirely for this film. There were still a few frozen portions of this movie, and I did like the two leads in this, you know, Genesis Rodriguez, I believe, and Vincent Piazza, you know, not the baseball player. I'm getting way off topic, but I thought that they did a fine job by their own. The chemistry, I didn't think entirely hit. I didn't feel like this was a married couple. You know, they had such a past together. It didn't really dive too much more into their relationship. It dove more into their survival tactics, and I understand why, because it did build up that conflict between the two of wanting to stay, wanting to roll the dice. Should they, you know, try to survive off of as much food as they have, or try to venture out, try to find help, and try to survive rather than staying in the vehicle. So I thought that, you know, the lack of conflict, or the lack of chemistry rather, between the two kind of actually maybe enhanced it, but I didn't believe that they were this married couple throughout this movie. And then rounding it out, I think the last third of this movie just kind of lost my interest. It wasn't a thing entirely of it gets bad. It just felt like it kept drawing out, and I was like, okay, how many more conflicts or problems can these people run into that are interesting, that would actually happen, and that would keep my interest? So I think that the last 30 minutes or so very much kind of lacks compared to the setup and the middle conflict of all of this bad things happening. However, it does end in a very emotional way. I will leave it at that. I'm no spoilers, but I think that the movie ends in a great way. It's just that last lead up sort of lost my interest of what the beginning portions of the film did. Overall, Centigrade is a horrific yet almost emotional survival horror movie stuck in the tundra, with it taking interesting story beats from real life events, conflict that really ramps up the tension. Like, there's a cell phone bit that I didn't even mention, and the way that it was filmed felt like it was a very contained, claustrophobic situation that they were in, but with a little bit of lack of chemistry between the leads and some portions of the movie losing my interest. I'd check out Centigrade. I mean, this was a movie that I didn't know much about, went into it. It was a quick, tight survival horror movie that very much is emotional and ramps up that tension and conflict as well. In closing, I'm going to give Centigrade 3.5 out of 5 frozen vehicles. So what did you guys think of Centigrade? If you've already seen this movie, looking forward to this movie, have some sort of interest in this movie, I want to know in the comments down below. Anyways though, as always, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there, or right over there, you know, brand new content every single week here on the JBuck Studios channel. Tomorrow, I think, is Bill and Ted. Thursday is New Mutants. Friday, I have no idea, but stay tuned for all of the new stuff on JBuck Studios. Follow all of my social media down there. Like this video, subscribe to the JBuck Studios channel, and until next time, the cold never bothered me anyway.